Welcome to the Grow and Expand with S podcast, where we break through limitations, we heal from within, and we step into our highest, most expansive, fulfilled, and happiest lives. Now, any journey of growth and expansion and inner healing will at times feel confusing. It might feel abstract, and there's times that you might feel lonely if you're going through the journey and those in your circle isn't going through it as well. And so that's why at the heart of the Grow and Expand with S podcast is my intention to bring to you the conversations, the community, the tools, practices, tips, and techniques that can help you bridge the gap from wherever it is you are to wherever it is that you are headed. And today I'm so excited to join Jessica King, founder of the Soulful Queen, as our guest speaker. Jessica is a somatic healer and a coach, a proud mama, wife, daughter, sister, and friend. Her purpose is to help beautiful humans reconnect to their bodies, find their joy again, and start living a life true to themselves, using a variety of somatic health practices and coaching techniques. Welcome, Jess.
Welcome.
So happy to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here.
So good. The number one question on everyone's minds, including mine, is what is somatic practices?
Somatic practices, I feel like it's quite a broad subject.
What does it mean to you?
What it means to me is basically it's like a body therapy. So we store so many of our emotions in our body. And I feel like with somatics, it's really helped me to overcome so many of them. It's about, I finally love my body. I finally love myself. And that didn't come from talking about it. It came from my somatic practices and actually dancing and breathing and actually, incorporating those into my everyday life.
Beautiful. And we'll drill down into that a little bit later, a little bit more. But first, so you touched on it, and what it didn't come from. So tell us a bit about your journey and where you've been and how you arrived here.
Yeah, I'd love to. So, I mean, I won't start from when I was born. But
no, we've only got 30 minutes.
Yeah. I'll start from, I feel like as long as I can remember, I've always had really low self-esteem. I've always felt like even people who were my friends, I didn't know, like I would question and doubt if they liked me. So many of the men that I attracted in my teenagers, 20s, everything, like they would never commit to me, or if they did, they would cheat or they would do these things. And then I would always play the victim. Like, why is this happening to me? What is wrong with me? And then I would always be really negative and judgy. And I didn't know that was a problem at the time. It was everyone else's problem. It wasn't my problem. Then I met my husband, and then I would just go off on, like, I would just fly off the wall so easy if he triggered me in a way, and I would scream, I would throw, like, not every time, but it was just like an adult tantrum, basically. Yeah. And again, I would just blame it on him. If you didn't do this, I wouldn't be this way. If my friends just invited me, I wouldn't be sad. And then I had my daughter, and she's 3.5 now.
Life-changing, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Nothing can prepare you.
Honestly, I feel like I owe her. I don't owe her my life, but it's just
I know
like
what you mean. She
what
woke
happens.
you up.
Yeah. And I had her, and I really struggled when I had her at the start. Like mentally, I just wasn't okay. And then as it progressed, like I lost a bit of weight. I felt a bit better. And then when she got to about 2, I would just lose it. Like she wouldn't listen to me, and I'd be like, why aren't you listening? Do this, do that. And I would end up screaming at the top of my lungs. Then I'd have to walk away from her, go into my room, slam the door, and then I would just sit on the floor crying. She would come in crying, and then we would hug, and it was just awful. Like, and then I would be numb for the whole day because I would feel so guilty.
Guilt and shame under that, because I can relate.
Yeah, so much shame. And then I was forever trying to make it up to her. And then I'm like, this has to stop. Like one day I was just like, I can't be this person anymore.
Something that triggered it, like a specific moment or event, or it was just a build up of?
I feel like it was just a build-up of,
Yeah.
I don't remember what happened, but I remember a day where I lost it, and my husband was home at the time. So I had lost it at her, I'd lost it at him, and I was like, I need to go. And I hopped in my car and I drove to the beach, and I sat in my car and I searched up like anger podcasts, and I listened to a podcast about, by Alexis Fernandez.
Yeah.
And it was about anger, and I wrote notes and I listened, and I was like, oh, you know, and that was the start. That was the start of me discovering about triggers and traumas and
learning, growing.
Yeah. And
because we don't know this shit, right?
My growth journey. No one tells you at school. It should be taught at school.
I said this in pretty much every podcast episode, that this is the things that at the very least should be honed in on, taught as well.
Yes.
Because it's like exactly like you say, those you don't know, something in you is niggling it, something's not right. But you don't know until you know, and then when you know, you start running with it, and then things just change. So tell me a bit about how you then got into somatic practices and like kind of how that evolved.
Yeah, so I suppose from that start, it was then like, you know, once you start looking into something, things pop up. So then it was like reels that would come up about triggers or traumas. And I'm like, okay, this is a little bit about me. And then I did some kinesiology. And then that took me to like, it took me to my inner child, and a lot of that work went around that. And it was like, what would you have needed in those moments? And I would sob, and I would be like, I just want to be loved. And I was like, where has this come from? Like, you know, and I knew that a lot of my anger issues revolved around my dad, but again, I didn't know why or why it was in me, and I shamed myself. So it was like starting with kinesiology, and that really opened my eyes and changed something within me. That one I can't explain because kinesiology is just...
Yeah, because it just happens.
It just happens.
Yeah.
So that was really amazing. And then I learned about the ego. I saw this holistic counselor, you would say, and he talked about a lot about ego. So I learned about that, and then I read A New Earth, which is... honestly, I would recommend that book to anyone. Have you read it?
No, I haven't, so tell me about it.
Oh, it just explains about our ego, which is obviously our inner voice.
Yeah. And
we all live in it. And like it's also, it just talks about parenthood and how it can, if you can let go of your ego, obviously we're all going to have it forever, but if you can detach from it.
Well, if it doesn't ride shotgun, if it doesn't have the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can detach from that, then you can drop into your heart, and you can actually live from your heart instead of living from your head, and everything gets better.
Right?
It is insane.
Because our mind just lies. That was the thing that I found the most fascinating about the journey, is the amount of times my mind would tell me something as whole truth.
Yeah.
And when I've then drawn it from my subconscious mind and I look at it, I'm like, nothing could be more wrong.
Yes.
And it's insane. Like, our minds are so powerful when we use it right, but when we haven't looked at its health and kind of made sure that it's in alignment with our values and our hearts, it is dangerous.
It is, and it just blew my mind, the things I was learning. And then I came across like a somatic page. I think it was a Primal Trust on Instagram, and they do like somatic, and they do mind and body. And then I started learning about that. And then when I would feel angry, I would kind of like shake, and I'd be like, I'm just going to try the exercise that's on here. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then I came across female embodiment dancing. Now that has changed my life. Like, if I can recommend doing anything to anyone, you know, it is a somatic practice, but it was just, I watched this workshop, and I remember her being like, okay, now close your eyes, rub your skin. And I'm like, rubbing my skin,
because our ego's like, this is weird, this is weird, run, but like, it's so natural on this other side.
And it was just like, you know, this is why I need to do this work, because it felt awkward to touch my own skin.
I know.
And then it's like, roll your hips. Okay, I'll roll my hips. And once I got into it and dropped into my body, I was like, this feels really nice. And ever since,
good,
and ever since then, I don't do it every day or anything, but I do it like weekly. And it has changed me. The way I see myself, the way I see others, like, it's just insane, the confidence that has come from that. And then from then I was just like, somatics, like what is this and how can I do this?
Yeah, that was just pulling you.
Yes. So that's when I did my course. And while I was learning, I was like, this is not just for me. I have to give this medicine to other people. And that's what led me to my business.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love. Can resonate almost everything you've said.
Yeah.
And the main thing, or a key topic that I can so resonate with. So my history is I had a very narcissistic, abusive father, like physically, emotionally, like just the whole package.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you do that inner child healing, you also realize why they are the way they are. So you actually extend compassion out. Like my relationship has never been better with my dad, though he's passed away.
Yeah.
But my internal relationship with him has never been better because for every ounce of empathy and connection and love I found from myself, because I showed up just like he did in my children's lives up until my breaking point, I can now understand where that came from, and I go, oh wow, he just had the same thing and zero tools. And I mean, that generation had no tools, and you can't even dream about mentioning anything like this, you know, in like kind of their space, and especially for men. But anyways, the key thing that the gift I got from my dad, which is so destructive and something I'm really passionate about talking about and raising awareness about, and you touched on it before, it's victimhood. It's this idea that everything's happening to us and that we poor us. And that's because when we were children, there was a poor you.
Yes.
But like you're not a child anymore. And in fact, perhaps the one that once was the victim now is the kind of the bully if you don't own that. So talk me through your kind of experience with victimhood and any kind of tips or messages or wisdom or whatever wants to come up in that regard.
Just own your shit. It is really hard to look inward, and it was really hard for me, like to go from being someone that blames everyone and is the victim to then just but it's also so empowering to then claim it yourself. And when you blow up, you're like, hang on a minute, what's going on for me right now? What do I need right now? And I just think if I had known all this stuff back then, I wouldn't have spent my whole teenage years, 20s, you know, chasing people.
Yeah.
And that's what I did because I didn't think I was good enough. And I would talk shit about my friends and this and that because, oh, they didn't invite me. They didn't do this. Poor me. And my mom and my sister, you know, they would always be there and support me and always listen to it. And I look back now, I'm like, why did you guys listen to that?
Because they also didn't know better.
Correct. They didn't know.
So are you the cycle breaker?
Yes.
You're the leader. Welcome to the gang. God, that needs a whole podcast on its own. And a whole, like, it is tough. That's the tough one. But how are they going? Are they kind of following, or where's that kind of, no?
Well, look, they're supportive.
Yeah,
absolutely,
beautiful.
so supportive. And I think little by little,
yeah, correct.
I would really love my mum to delve into it a bit more.
My mum's been phenomenal. So my mum is like, you know, like any kind of mum back then too, like, or never knew about her shit, never knew about any of these tools kind of thing, and comes along kind of really resistantly, but comes along.
Yeah.
Like no one has ever showed up for me in a way that I have found as meaningful as the way my mum has shown up on this journey. And it does, you're right, it shines through them.
Yeah.
Like, and it's little by little, but that's enough. And it's not really for me that I want it, it's for her that I want it because...
And like mum will come to my practices, like my group practices.
My mum came to my stuff.
And I love it. And she loves it.
Yeah.
But I think it's the victimhood. That's the thing.
And they have it more ingrained in them.
Yes.
Like, you know how hard it is to look inwards at the start. Like, I know the more we get used to it and the more we build the muscle, it becomes so easy. But that start, every part of you wants to fucking run.
Yeah.
And it's insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the more you do it, the more you're like, what is there even to be scared of? This is me.
Yes.
I'm looking at, and it's giving me knowledge that's giving me power. But like, we are hardwired to fear it.
We are. And so many of my friends still are in that mentality, and it's like, oh, I'm not gonna like this person's thing, or I'm not gonna do this, and it's like, oh babe, you're spending so much energy on worrying about what they're thinking. Like, go do some inner work and love yourself, and it won't matter anymore.
How hard is that part of the journey? Like, I
Super
have
hard.
zero. I have so much wisdom, knowledge, and information I can give people. I have very, very little on that topic because it is so incredibly hard when someone else doesn't want to follow the journey that you've followed, and you know how amazingly expansive it has been for you and also for your children, and particularly when they have children.
Yes.
And you have your view of what you think is right, but that's also just ego in part.
Correct.
And then me thinking I can tell you what to be is really just me needing you to come with me and connect. It's just, it's like, it's
the whole journey, right? Like at the start when I learned all this, I'm like, project. Do this. You should do this. I'm not reacting, but you're reacting. And it's like, you're actually worse because you're putting it on me. And then now I've got to a place finally where it's like, you do you, and I am here to support you whenever you're ready. But you go through that journey where it does become an ego thing. I'm healing and you're not.
Yeah.
I'm better than you.
Because you haven't just got to that layer yet, right? So it's part of the stages. Like there should be like a stages kind of book. Someone should bring that out.
Yeah.
And then have you lost people? Like have you lost friendships and things along the way or not really?
I haven't lost anyone, but I've definitely drifted from people.
Yes.
And there's friends that I've been friends with for years that I've always been like, I want to be invited. I want to be a part of their group. And
you want it to belong.
And it would always get to me. And then I don't know how long ago it was now, like 6 months ago or something, I seen them and I love them and I still love hanging out and seeing them. But I walked away and I was like, oh, wow, it's gone.
Yeah.
I don't really need to be a part of that because they're on such a different journey than me. And this is why we weren't meant to be like really close friends.
And all this in this point in time, right? Like that's the beautiful thing about unconditional love. It's like it's not conditional upon these rules that we put on ourselves that we have to talk in certain ways or have to, like it just is.
Yeah.
And whatever kind of happens. But it sounds easy now flowing off the tongue. It's a real...
Yeah. But it's just a really nice place to come to.
Absolutely.
Is when you're just like, I am happy with who I've got in my life and my energy will attract the right energies and the right people. I mean, it's attracted you, right?
Absolutely.
And if I stayed in that victimhood, I wouldn't be where I am today.
So do you have like a tip, like a hot tip for someone? If you had to say to someone who obviously is listening and kind of going, like, we always have that part that's like, that's you. Now, whether you admit it or not is different. But like a hot tip that you would give them around victimhood or like a wisdom drop or anything kind of like that.
I would just say, whenever you see yourself reacting or snapping at someone or like you feel your body react, right, is to just stop, pause and go, hold on a minute. What is this causing for me right now?
Curious.
Get curious. Look inward. It is hard at first, even if it's just a moment where you feel yourself yell or get to that threshold. And you just like, after that, quickly just journal it down. Yep. Quickly write it down and just write, this happened today, I yelled. That's all it has to be. And then when you're ready, you can reflect on it.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be the starting point of that, is just to notice that negative self-talk or that negative talk or judgment towards someone else.
Yeah, because how kind of mind-blowing is it? I don't know whether you were aware of it before you started your journey. I definitely wasn't. How much knowledge we have.
Yes.
And we just have it. And really all we have to do is surrender control enough to access it and then to trust it.
Yeah.
I will never forget, it was like month 2 in this journey of just really me, myself and I trying to figure out where this is all going.
Yeah.
And I wrote down, I had a moment like that where I yelled at my husband and he had like kind of walked out of the room and I had my shoe and I was so angry.
Yeah.
And like it bounced back and it like, the rage, right?
Yes.
And I remember doing exactly what you just said. I sat down and I was like, this is disproportionate.
Yeah.
The loaded energy and emotions in me right now is not proportionate to what just unfolded. And I just wrote down and I wrote this like random little statement that kind of went, what if what's happening now isn't the reflection of the current reality, but something that happened a moment in time long ago that you're still on. That's triggers.
Yes.
Like I come to later on learn about it cognitively.
Yes.
But that information, like how powerful are we if we drop into our bodies and our primitive kind of nature?
Yeah, because it's even as simple as, I asked my partner to get me a certain packet of chips from the shops and they came home and they forgot it. And it's like, you don't care about me, you forgot my chips. And it's like, actually, no, that's just the little girl who asked for something and didn't get it and was told you've had enough or whatever it is at the time. That's responding to now her adult partner because she hasn't healed that part of it.
Yeah, she's perceiving that to mean something equivalent to perhaps that time and what she didn't get, and not the more objective.
Yeah. And
he's had a tough day, or perhaps that just slipped his mind. Obviously, if it happens 10, 15 times, then there's that different question. But it's so phenomenally powerful.
It is crazy. The beliefs we tell ourselves, we will make stories, and our life will literally show us that. It'll mirror it. And it is bizarre. It has just changed my...
It's a fun journey, isn't it?
It is.
It's fun. Like, there's dark moments and difficult 100%. Moments, but, like, it's a lot of fun. And the relationship I've built with myself in it is rad.
Yes.
It's the one I've always looked for everywhere out there that I just, during this, I'm like, it's amazing. And now I'm meeting so many people like yourself.
Yeah.
And, like, it's just so cool.
It is. It is amazing, which is why I want everyone to do it. Because
I know, it comes from such a good place.
You can feel amazing, but everyone has their own journey.
So, can you, like, just to get back to the somatic practices type thing? So I want to, like, understand it a little bit more. So I'm also a mental person, like in terms of, I used to be a lawyer. So my mind does, I own my own law firm.
Wow, that is such a change.
Such a change. So you can imagine that delayering and how that journey went.
Yeah.
But it's only very recently that I started. So I've always done a lot of inner child healing is like my bread and butter.
Okay.
Mindset coaching, obviously, like phenomenally powerful at. Yeah. Recently started, like probably for about 6 months, really doing energy work. Okay. And it's through energy work where I've just, again, intuitively known it's the movement of the body. And it's like kind of finding wherever it is. And you like, I don't know how I know. Yeah. But like I'm upstairs and like you feel a bit like embarrassed at the start and then later on, not at all. I'm doing it now in front of my husband, kids. I'm like, wait, I've just got some energy. And they're like,
I love that.
Really.
I love it, yes.
But like if you had to describe to someone if they came to one of your workshops or to one of your one-on-one coaching or whatever it is that you do retreats, like what can they kind of expect with their mind?
To drop out of it?
No.
So, basically it's like I teach it and I say it's about dropping out of your mind and coming home to your body. It is about realizing that your sensations that you feel, whether it's like I feel sick in my belly, a racing heart, a tight chest, it's all connected to our emotions and to our thoughts.
Yeah.
So it's just...
Well, our thoughts lead us to the feelings, don't they?
Yes.
So like... Yeah, they're all individual bodies of work, but the one can lead to the other, but you can also bypass one to an extent if you kind of work on the other.
Yeah.
Like, if you think scary thoughts, all of a sudden you feel it in your body.
Well, that's what they say, right? Like, whatever you think, it doesn't actually have to be happening.
No.
To cause a reaction inside of your body. So I just try and, like, teach that once you can, we go through meditations and movement practices to see if anything comes up. And the whole time through a meditation, I'll be saying with each sort of different part you're breathing into, each different pose, I'll be saying, now just notice, are there any thoughts, feelings or sensations attached to this? Because you'd be surprised what can come up by laying down in a funny position, like, oh my God, this feels really uncomfortable for me, but where do you feel it? The other day at work, my coworker was talking and he's like, I'm really anxious. And I said, what about? And he's like, just about this meeting. And I was like, but where do you feel it in your body? And he was like, in my chest. And I was like, well, what do you feel it needs? And then I can't even remember if he just did like a little dance or something.
Yeah,
like we have little dance parties at work, which I love. And then he was like, oh, it's gone. It's gone. The minute I told him to just feel where it was in his body, it was like it just went.
Yeah, because that's half
he couldn't
the thing.
fixate on it anymore.
Yeah.
And I just find it to be so powerful.
So good. So if anyone wants to work with you, how do they go about reaching out? What are your details?
So my Instagram is at the Soulful Queen. I currently do Soulful Sessions, which is my somatic group sessions. I put a timetable on there because it can differ on what days and times I do, depending on my daughter, my babysitters. And then I do one-on-one packages, but I like to incorporate coaching and somatic into it. Yeah. So a bit of talk and a bit of mind for a whole body makeover.
Yeah, holistic. Beautiful.
Yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at the moment. And in the future, I hope to run some courses. But for now, I'm just sticking on
in the future, you will run courses.
I will. That's right. Sorry.
And you can't wait for that to happen. And that's your vision. Yes, that's the reframe. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been so lovely to get to know you and to understand more about somatic practices and see the similarities in journeys, because that's always the thing that makes me just like when you go through it alone, you think it's just you. And obviously by now I 100% know it's not, but it's always so breathtakingly joyful to sit down and go, there's just like so many people that are waking up to this, so many people benefiting from this. So thank you.
No, thank you.
You have
you
lit
could talk
my heart
about
up.
it for hours.
I could talk about it forever. My friends that don't do what I do, like, it's you got to honor my wants, needs and desires, which is to just talk about it. You got to honor their wants, needs and desires, which is probably zero fucks given. And I find this uncomfortable. And we're just trying to all in our own little unique ways to find that dance for the love that we have. And then like equally, you know, it obviously has meant some friendships don't accelerate as they used to, but then other new ones do. But I could want to and enjoy talking about this forever. So thank you so much, Jess, for joining the Grow and Expand with S podcast today. It was wonderful having you.
It was wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Most welcome. And we'll pop all of your details and Instagram handle into the notes so that anyone who's listened to today's episode who feels called to move their bodies and feel their emotions and process it out can get in touch.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
No worries. Have a beautiful week, everyone. All of my love. S.